Emperor Zexil's 6 eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he reviewed the holographic display floating before his crystalline throne. The numbers were precise, clinical. 5,731 human younglings eliminated on the colony world of Kepler 442b. Each death had been recorded, catalogued and transmitted across the galactic network as a warning to other species who dared question his authority. The humans had made the mistake of refusing to surrender their agricultural rights to the Zexilan Empire. They had spoken of principles and the rights of children to inherit their world. Such primitive concepts. The Emperor had taught them the reality of galactic power. His communications officer, a trembling Vorthan with pale blue skin, approached the throne with hesitant steps. "Your Imperial Magnificence, we have received a transmission from the human homeworld, Earth." Emperor Zexil's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Already? I expected their capitulation would take at least a rotation. Display it." The officer's 4 hands shook as he activated the transmission array. The holographic display shifted, showing a simple text message that had been broadcast on all frequencies, simultaneously reaching every corner of the galaxy. One word appeared in stark white letters against the void of space: destruction. The Emperor's laughter echoed through the vast throne room, a sound like breaking glass mixed with the screams of dying stars. One word? This is their response to the demonstration of my power? Their children lie dead and they send me poetry? But Communications Officer Kelth noticed something his Emperor did not. The message wasn't just transmitted. It was embedded into the quantum fabric of every communication network in the galaxy. It had bypassed security protocols that had never been breached in 10,000 years of galactic history. On Earth, in a small apartment overlooking the ruins of what had once been New Geneva, Adnan closed his eyes and let the weight of command settle on his shoulders. The 23-year-old had never wanted to lead humanity's response to alien aggression, but the Council of Earth had unanimously chosen him after reviewing his psychological profile and strategic capabilities. "The message has been sent," reported Nehal, his childhood friend and now Earth's chief intelligence coordinator. At 21, she possessed a mind that could process quantum calculations faster than most AI systems. Her dark eyes reflected the glow of dozens of holographic displays, showing fleet movements across the galaxy. "Zexil will dismiss it as empty posturing," Adnan said quietly. "He doesn't understand that humans don't make threats. We make promises." Nehal nodded, her fingers dancing across haptic interfaces as she coordinated with resistance cells that had been quietly established on hundreds of worlds over the past decade. "Phase 1 assets are in position. The moment he received our message, quantum entanglement beacons activated across his empire." What Emperor Zexil had never understood about humans was their peculiar relationship with time and patience. While other species planned in cycles and seasons, humans planned in generations. The children he had murdered were the sons and daughters of the first humans to leave Earth, but they were also the culmination of a century-long strategy. Every human colony hadn't just been an expansion of territory. Each had been a carefully placed strategic asset. Human children weren't just colonists. They were living quantum computers, their neural patterns enhanced through genetic modifications that took 3 generations to fully manifest. The 5,731 children Zexil had killed weren't just innocents. They were the final components of the largest distributed computing network ever created. And in death, their quantum-entangled consciousness had activated. Across the galaxy, on 847 different worlds, human sleeper agents received the same neural pulse that had been triggered by the children's sacrifice. Each agent had lived normal lives: merchants, engineers, teachers, farmers. None of them had even known they were weapons until this moment. On the imperial capital world of Zexil Prime, a human botanist named David Chen felt the pulse and understood instantly. He looked at the flowering tree he had spent 15 years cultivating in the Emperor's personal garden. The tree that had grown its roots deep into the planet's core. The tree whose pollen carried genetically modified organisms that had been spreading through the planetary ecosystem for over a decade. David smiled sadly and pressed his palm to the tree's bark. "For the children," he whispered. The tree pulsed once with bioluminescent light, and every plant on Zexil Prime began to change at the molecular level. Emperor Zexil was still laughing at Earth's pathetic one-word message when his palace began to shake. His advisors rushed to the sensor displays, their faces turning pale as they processed the readings. "Your Magnificence," stammered his science advisor. "The planetary core temperature is rising exponentially. All plant life is somehow converting matter to energy at impossible rates. The entire planetary ecosystem is becoming a fusion reactor." Zexil's laughter died. Through the vast crystal windows of his throne room, he could see trees and flowers beginning to glow with the light of small stars. Across his empire, on world after world, similar transformations were beginning. Human agents were revealing themselves not as conquerors but as architects of precision devastation. They didn't target innocent civilians. They targeted infrastructure, government installations, and military assets with surgical precision that spoke of planning that spanned generations. In his final moments, as his palace began to melt around him, Emperor Zexil finally understood the true meaning of that one-word message. It hadn't been a threat or a promise of war. It had been a diagnosis. Humans didn't just fight wars, they solved problems. And Emperor Zexil had just discovered that he had become humanity's problem to solve. As his consciousness faded, the last thing he heard was a human child's laughter echoing across quantum dimensions. The laughter of 5,731 children who had become something far greater than death, becoming the key that unlocked humanity's carefully planned retribution. The galaxy would remember this day not as the day an empire fell, but as the day it learned that some species planned their revenge in generations, and that human patience was not weakness, it was the universe's most terrifying weapon.